Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Elizabeth Hardy, Director of Multilingual Learners for Aiken County Public Schools, and I want to thank you for taking time to complete this important training. Whether you're a seasoned member of your school's front office team or brand new to your role, this training is designed just for you. It will walk you through everything you need to know about enrolling multilingual learners, often referred to as MLs, in our district. You don't need any prior knowledge of the ESOL program, language services, or even what makes a student an ML. We'll walk step by step through what enrollment documents are required, how to correctly handle home language surveys, what to do when families need interpretation, and how to ensure every student, regardless of the language they speak, is enrolled correctly and legally. This is vital work. The information you collect and enter during enrollment becomes the first step in helping us identify and support students who are learning English while mastering grade-level content. Your attention to detail and understanding of these procedures ensures our students get the services they need from day one. Let's get started. Before we dive into the specific procedures, let's take a quick look at what you'll be able to do after completing this training. First, you'll understand the enrollment rights of all students, regardless of their background, country of origin, or immigration status. This is a foundational part of federal law, and we want to make sure every child and family is welcomed into our district without unnecessary barriers. Next, we'll help you identify the correct documentation needed for proof of age and residency. Sometimes families come to us with documents that look a little different than we're used to seeing. That's okay. We'll walk through what's acceptable and what's not. You'll also learn how to print and file home language survey forms accurately. These are critical for identifying multilingual learners and must be handled with care. Then we'll show you how to use interpretation and translation services so you can confidently assist families who don't speak English. And finally, we'll explain how and when to notify your school's ML specialist so they can follow up with services and testing as needed. Don't worry, we'll take each of these step by step and give you clear examples along the way. Let's keep going. Let's begin with one of the most important messages in this training. Every child has the right to attend public school, no matter where they come from or what their immigration status is. Federal law guarantees all children in the United States equal access to public elementary and secondary education, regardless of race, national origin, citizenship, or the documentation status of their parents. That means no student should ever be turned away or discouraged from enrolling in school because of a lack of paperwork or because their family is undocumented. Now let's talk about what is required when enrolling in Aiken County Public Schools, starting with proof of residency. Schools can accept a parent's state-issued ID or driver's license as one possible form of documentation, but we cannot require these items, especially since many families may not have them. Requiring a driver's license, for example, would unfairly block some students from enrollment and could put the district at risk of violating federal law. Instead, there are many acceptable documents that can be used to verify a family's address within the district. These include a utility bill like electric, water, or gas, a cable, internet, or telephone bill, renter's or homeowner's insurance policy, a lease agreement, or a notarized letter from a landlord. All of these options help ensure we are meeting legal requirements without creating barriers for families. If you're ever unsure, please don't guess. Reach out to our department for support. We're here to help. Let's talk about two more critical pieces of enrollment: proof of age and immunization records. First, proof of age is only required for first-time enrollment in pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. This is based on South Carolina's age of attendance law. Now, we're often used to asking for a birth certificate, and yes, you can certainly request one, but it's very important to know that a birth certificate cannot be required for enrollment. In other words, if a family doesn't have a birth certificate, you cannot turn them away. Instead, you can accept several other documents to determine the student's age, such as an affidavit from the parent, previous school records, a certificate from a hospital or physician, or a baptismal record. If you're enrolling a student beyond second grade, their grade placement should be based on school records that show what grade they most recently completed. Now let's shift to immunizations. The South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, or DHEC, requires that students provide an immunization form. However, they also allow a 30-day waiver. That means that students have 30 days to either submit records or begin immunizations, and that waiver absolutely applies to multilingual learners as well. So if a family doesn't have immunization records at the time of enrollment, it's okay. You can still move forward. Just remind them of the 30-day window and follow your school's procedures for tracking it. Let's keep going. You're doing great. Let's take a closer look at how we determine where to place students, especially our multilingual learners, when they enroll in Aiken County Public Schools. First up is age placement. In general, students should be placed with age-appropriate peers across all grade levels. This helps support social-emotional growth, confidence, and language development. However, if a student is identified with SLIFE, which stands for Students with Limited or Interrupted Formal Education, they may be placed 1 year below their age group to allow for academic catch-up and English language support. At the high school level, students should still be scheduled alongside their grade level peers whenever possible, especially in places like electives, homeroom, or advisory periods. Now let's talk about grade classification, which is slightly different from age placement. Grade classification is determined by credits earned in high school, not just age. For example, a student entering high school who has earned fewer than 6 credits will still be classified as a freshman, regardless of age. This is important for accurate reporting, transcript creation, and determining which graduation requirements apply. Finally, let's explain 9GR, which stands for 9th Grade Retention Year, or more officially, the 4-year graduation cohort indicator. Any student who enrolls in a U.S. high school for the very first time is added to this 4-year graduation cohort. But when their 9GR is set depends on when they enroll. If the student enrolls on or before the 45th school day, their 9GR will be set to the 2-digit year of that same school year's spring semester. For example, if they enroll in the fall of the 2025-26 school year, their 9GR will be 26. If the student enrolls after the 45th school day, their 9GR is bumped to the next school year. So if that same student enrolls in January 2026, their 9GR will be 27, even though they're technically starting in the 2025-26 school year. This information ensures that students are placed appropriately, tracked correctly for graduation, and set up for success with support from our schools and the ML team. Let's keep going. Let's talk about how to help families who don't speak English. And the good news is it's easier than you might think. Aiken County Public Schools partners with HIT Services, a professional interpretation provider that provides us access to interpreters in over 200 languages. This service ensures that every family can receive information in a language they understand, especially during important moments like registration. Here's exactly how to use it. Dial the toll-free number 864-756-9707. When prompted, enter the PIN 342-527-23, followed by the pound sign. You'll be asked to choose or say the language you need. For example, press 1 for Spanish. Once connected, clearly say the name of your school so the interpreter knows who you are. Then summarize what you want to accomplish. For example, I'm helping a parent complete enrollment paperwork, or I need to explain immunization requirements. After that, add the parent or non-English speaker to the call. The interpreter can even help you with a three-way call if needed. Once the call is done, just hang up. Then, for tracking purposes, please email Brian Gibbons at bgibbons, that's BGIBBONS, at acpsd.net. In the email, include the student's name, the language used, and the approximate time of the call. That's it. This is a vital tool, and I encourage you to use it often. Families are so grateful when we make the effort to communicate in their language. Now let's talk about one of the most important tools we use to identify and support our multilingual learners, the Home Language Survey, or HLS. One common misunderstanding is that the HLS is only for students who already speak a language other than English, but that's not true. The HLS is for every single student enrolling in Aiken County Public Schools for the very first time, regardless of what language they speak at home. Even native English speakers complete this form. The HLS is only completed once during a student's time in our district, at the time of initial enrollment. This includes students entering grades 3K through 12. If a student has already attended any ACPSD school, they should already have an HLS on file and no new form is needed. In our district, the HLS is embedded in the Enrollment Survey Section 2 within the online registration portal for students marked as new to the district. Families complete the survey during online registration, and their responses automatically generate a printable form. This form helps us determine if a student may be eligible for language support services and triggers next steps like proficiency screening or follow-up from your school's ML specialist. So, to recap, All students new to ACPSD must have a home language survey on file. The survey is completed once, not every year. It is required regardless of language spoken, and it is already built into the registration process for new enrollees. We'll go over how to print and file this form next. You're doing a great job. Let's keep going. Now that families have completed the home language survey online, it's your turn to make sure it's printed and properly placed in the student's permanent record. This is an essential step in enrollment for any student newly enrolling in ACPSD, and it ensures we're in compliance with both district and federal guidelines. Here's how to do it. First, locate the student's registration in the enrollment portal. Once you find the correct record, click the Edit icon. Next, look to the left side menu and click Print Forms. In the Form menu, check the boxes for Enrollment Survey Section 1 and Section 2. These sections include the home language survey and other key registration information. After selecting the forms, click Print. This will generate a file for you to review. Then click View Forms to access the printable PDF version of the HLS. From there, print one clean copy and place it in the student's permanent file. We'll talk more on the next slide about how to label and organize that correctly. Remember, this task is only required once for each student at initial enrollment. If they've already been enrolled in ACPSD in the past, you do not need to repeat this process. Let's keep going. You're doing an excellent job. Once you've printed the enrollment survey sections 1 and 2, it's extremely important that you file and label them correctly to ensure they're retained for the student's entire time in our district. Here's what you need to do. First, take a pen and mark the home language survey with Do Not Purge. This ensures that even if files are cleaned out over time, this document stays in the student's permanent record. It must remain on file for the duration of the student's school career in Aiken County. Next, make sure to file the printed home language survey in the student's permanent record within 10 days of enrollment. This helps us stay in compliance with documentation timelines and ensures that ML specialists have what they need to follow up with support or screening if necessary. Finally, take a moment to use the responses from Section 1 of the enrollment survey to fill out the language spoken in the home field on the tab of the student's permanent record folder. This small step is important for school staff when reviewing the student's file and may help with placement or services down the road. This helps ensure that no student's language needs fall through the cracks, and we appreciate your careful attention to this process. Let's wrap things up on the next slide. Before we wrap up, here are a few important reminders, some common missteps to avoid when handling home language surveys. First, please don't place duplicate HLS forms in a student's permanent record. Each student should have only one home language survey on file from their initial enrollment in ACPSD. If a student re-enrolls after time away or transfers between schools, do not create or print a new form. Instead, use the original copy already on file. Second, please don't ask your school's ESOL or ML specialist to file these forms. The responsibility for printing and placing HLS forms belongs to the front office staff, not the ML team. Their role begins once the form has been submitted and reviewed. And finally, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or concerns. I'm here to support you. If something feels unclear or you're unsure about a step in the process, contact me directly. My information will be at the end of this training. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate the care and attention you bring to every student and family who walks through your doors. Let's move on to the final slides. We've covered a lot of important information today. Thank you for sticking with it. This slide brings us full circle to the key skills and responsibilities you now have as part of your role in welcoming and enrolling multilingual learners. By now, you should be able to understand the enrollment rights of all students, regardless of immigration status. Know what documents are acceptable for verifying age and residency, including alternatives to birth certificates and driver's licenses. Accurately print and file the Home Language Survey, HLS, in the student's permanent record. Use HIT services for over-the-phone interpretation to support families in their preferred language. And finally, notify your school's ML specialist when a student is identified as potential multilingual learner, so they can begin the next steps in providing language support. You play a critical role in helping every student feel welcomed and supported from day one. Your attention to detail and care during the enrollment process sets the tone for a successful school experience. Not just for students, but for their families too. Let's head to the last slide for a quick recap and contact information in case you ever need help. Thank you so much for taking the time to complete this training today. I know your work in the front office is incredibly busy and often fast-paced, but your role is one of the most important in making our multilingual learners and their families feel seen, supported, and welcomed from the moment they walk through the door. If you ever have questions about enrollment procedures, documentation, home language surveys, or how to support ML families, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact me directly at mlinfo@acpsd.net or by phone at 803-641-2328. We're all in this together to make sure every child has a strong start, and I'm so grateful for your partnership in that mission. Thanks again for listening and for everything you do.